Hello, it's Eden. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to discuss a question that was left on my comments on one of my other videos, and that question was, what are the differences between OCPD and autism? So I thought that maybe we could do a little bit of a deep dive by examining both the similarities and the differences in Autism Spectrum Disorder and OCPD, or Obsessive Compulsive Personality Disorder. So this is going to be a two-parter. The first video is going to be dedicated to the similarities, and the second video is going to be differences. So look out for the second part of the video. I will be releasing it pretty soon after this one, more than likely a few days. So keep a lookout for it. I do have quite a lot to go through, so I will probably be brief as I can with each point, and this is definitely not a comprehensive list. There are a lot of similarities and a lot of differences that I haven't covered as such. If you'd like to go more in depth with a particular behaviour, feel free to email me hi@edenv.com. We'll have a private discussion. Let's start by quickly talking about each condition. OCPD stands for Obsessive Compulsive Personality Disorder. It is a personality disorder that typically manifests in early adulthood, and it's often characterized by extreme perfectionism, the excessive need to control, organize, and create neatness in the external world around them. There is not a lot of research into how it's caused, whether it be by genetics or whether it be by the nurturing environment that a person has grown up in. But many people with OCPD report growing up with conditions where adults and parents and people of authority figures around them were excessively controlling, emotionally unavailable, or just had unrealistic expectations placed upon themselves. Autism, otherwise known as Autism Spectrum Disorder, is also in the DSM-5. It is a condition that a person is born with and will carry throughout their entire life. It affects how a person thinks, feels, interacts with others, and experiences their external world and environment. Autism is usually diagnosed in early childhood and youth. However, there are many people out there in the world that receive a diagnosis in adulthood as well. It's interesting because although the conditions are very different, there are a lot of similar behaviours that the two share. So in this particular video, part 1, we will be discussing the similarities in the behaviours that both OCPD and autism share. As a quick disclaimer, I myself do not have autism. I have obsessive compulsive personality disorder. I have OCPD. So whilst I will try my best to balance the information that I will be giving you in these lists, there will be times where I won't be able to assume motivations behind a behaviour with autism, as I have not experienced them myself. My knowledge with autism is a combination of external research and also my own personal experience living with loved ones who have autism. Feel free to comment if you agree or disagree with any of the points that I'm going to list in both of my videos. I always encourage open and candid discussion. However, I don't encourage insulting or negative personalized opinions. Let's just be respectful with one another. No two people with OCPD or autism are the same, and we should be respectful of each other. So please be nice. Thanks. Alright, let's get stuck into it. The first behaviour that OCPD and autism share is emotional masking. That is the need to make yourself look fine in an environment when other people are around. People with autism and OCPD generally have to try and conduct themselves in such a way that makes them appear okay, especially when they are surrounded by other people, so just in mainstream society. Conducting yourself in such a way that seems acceptable in public takes a lot of energy, and it's pretty difficult to have to do to make yourself appear fine, especially when you're not fine. So a lot of the time these things can lead to emotional meltdowns or emotional outbursts, especially in private when everybody else is gone. We find it very hard to express ourselves emotionally. It is very hard for people with OCPD and autism to put into words how they are feeling. Often we'll either just choose to respond with, yeah, I'm fine, or just a very generic response. It's easier for us to pretend that we're okay when we're not, because the emotional onslaught of more questions, the pressure to answer these questions, the pressure to have to acknowledge these feelings when we don't really understand them ourselves to begin with. It can get to quite a lot. It can cause a lot of distress. So it's easier for us to just say we're fine when we're not fine. The next one is black and white thinking or dichotomous thinking. This is a thought process where it's difficult to move beyond one extreme or another. There's just one side, there's another side, there's no real area in the middle to explore. There is no in between, there is only acknowledgement of good or bad in a situation. The light is on, the light is off. It's just how it is. Black and white thinking. The next one is the preoccupation for organization. Things just need to be in their place. Having people touch or move our things for both OCPD and autism causes us a lot of stress. It causes us a lot of distress as well. Having our things touched and moved usually means that it's not in a state of how we left it. It usually means that there is a loss of control involved, especially with OCPD. If people are changing and touching and moving our things around, it means that we're not controlling what is going on. We're not controlling the state of that thing. If we have to lend things out, well, we don't typically like to lend our things out. We don't really typically like our things to be touched. This is because we don't know how the thing is going to look when it is returned to us, and whether it will be in that same pre-borrowed state when we last saw it. We can't control it. We just don't like it. Just don't touch it. Just don't touch our things. In our household, for example, we just have two of everything. My partner has autism and I have OCPD. It is easier for us to have two of everything than to share the one thing. And honestly, that's how it works. That's the way we like it. We like having our own things because it means that we have complete control over that thing. We have complete control over taking care of that thing, and if that thing breaks, then that's our fault, not the other person's. So we just don't like to share, we just don't like our things being touched, and that's okay. The next one is difficulty in processing change. Both OCPD and autism share this because we understand that change is something that can't be controlled. We know this, but when a change happens, especially if it's an unexpected change, it brings about a lot of anxiety, it brings about a lot of stress, it brings about a lot of emotional dysregulation. It's very hard for us to process change. We don't like change. We just like things to stay the same. This is why people with OCPD do have very strict and regimented routines, and we don't really like to deviate too much from these routines. Speaking for myself, I have things that I like to do every single day, and if I don't get to do them, it does bring me a lot of stress. It does bring me a lot of anxiety, and then I do tend to overthink not doing that thing, and then I have to go. There's just things that I have to do every day, and I just don't like changing. I have particular shops that I like to visit. I don't really like going to shops that I haven't visited before, and I know that some people with autism feel very similar, if not the same way as I do. We just like having habitual routine things. We know what to expect. Once we start moving out into that territory, then it becomes a very ethereal area where we have to try and predict what's going to go on. If we're trying to predict what's going on, we have to try and predict how we can remedy that situation. It brings us a lot of stress. It's just, nah, we'll just stick with what we know. It's fine. The next behaviour that OCPD and autism share is a love for symmetry. Speaking from an OCPD perspective, we love that things just kind of fit all into place nicely. In a way, it's an expression of perfection. If you have everything that is fitting, if you have everything that fits together nicely and there is nothing out of place. We just really like symmetry. I feel like with autism, it is because people with autism are very good at noticing patterns. And so when a pattern is disrupted, something that should be symmetrical is asymmetrical. It can be quite a sensory issue, especially if it's an expectation of the thing to be symmetrical to begin with. The next behaviour that both OCPD and autism share is the keen eye for noticing things. We are both very good at noticing errors in work. We're both very good at noticing if a pattern has been disrupted. We're very good at noticing if there is asymmetry. When I say little things, I don't mean little things like dates, phone numbers, and birthdays, those sorts of things. That's something I will discuss in the next video, which is actually, there's a little bit of a difference there. So these are just things, a general change in the environment that we are just very good at picking up. The next one is dedication to the people around us. We're very dedicated to our family. We're very dedicated to our friends. We're very dedicated to those people because we know them, we love them, or we trust them. We know that they accept us for who we are and all of our quirks, all of our things that make us us. We know that our family, our friends, our loved ones, they just accept us for who we are, and, you know, they might even enjoy our quirks, they might even enjoy our behaviors, and they're okay with them. So we really like keeping those connections, and although we may not express it, we do try to let those people know how much they mean to us, and we do try to keep those connections as strong as possible. We do try. It's because we really value people. You know, we really value the people that love us and respect us, and we in turn respect and love them too. The next one is perfectionism. Although it is expressed in two different ways, there is a level of perfectionism that is connected to both OCPD and autism, whether it be perfectionism because of expectations or perfectionism because of thorough task completion. There is still a level of perfectionism. There is a difference in how perfectionism is expressed, and I will talk about that in the next video. The next one is invested research for invested interests. When we really like something, we really like it, and we are going to do a lot of research into that thing we like. It is not uncommon for somebody with OCPD or autism to spend hours, days, possibly even weeks sometimes conducting research into, let's say, a possible purchase, especially if that purchase is connected to an invested interest that we have at that time. The next one is expression of empathy. We both struggle to express empathy in a situation. Some of us, especially with OCPD, aren't fully in touch with our emotions because we were invalidated as children and we were taught not to have emotions. So when we experience emotions, we often don't know what we're experiencing, so we will often emotionally mask to try to hide how it is that we're feeling. We are often, with OCPD, we are often described as cold, we're often described as distant, unloving, you know. We're actually quite the opposite of that, but we just can't get our feelings across. The next one is a little bit more of a quirk. We're not huge fans of being pranked. We're not big fans of having jokes pulled on us. We don't like our things being messed with. We don't like being messed around with for fun. We don't really like this because it brings us a lot of internal conflict about whether the person either actually likes us or not, or what they have done to mess with us, and, you know, if they have changed things around, have they damaged the goods that they have been touching. You know, we just don't like pranks. We are quite blunt, and we just like things being taken at face value. Pranks, personally, I hate being pranked. I hate being played jokes on. I see, like, I like watching TikToks, and I see people, like, partners playing pranks on each other, and it really makes me angry. If I put myself in that situation, I would not want that joke being played on me. So I know that my partner feels the same way as well. He doesn't like pranks. He doesn't like people hurting each other intentionally for the sake of a laugh. We don't like pranks. So just don't prank us, man. It's not funny. And the last one, although expressed a little differently with autism and OCPD, we like to hoard. We like to hoard things, whether it be things like Tupperware, whether it be empty boxes or broken items that relate to our interests, old clothes, or just things that most neurotypicals will see and would say, we don't need to keep that, why are we keeping it, let's discard it. Well, you like to keep those things because we don't know whether that thing is going to come in handy, whether it's going to be important later, or whether we just like having things like a box around because it's nice to have things to put inside a box, and that's why we keep our boxes. These things may be quite inconsequential, but to us they are important. I know around our house we just have so many things, so many random things that we just keep. I have so many old clothes that I will just not part with. I don't want to part with them. I don't really know why, I just don't want to part with them. And my partner likes keeping all of his boxes for his technology. I also like boxes. Oh my god, boxes. I've talked about this on the channel before, how much I love boxes, because you never know when you're going to need a box. So we have lots of empty boxes around the house. Boxes are fantastic. We love boxes. So those are all the similarities. What did you think? Do you identify with any of the similarities that I've talked about? Let me know in the comments below. I'm very interested to hear what your thoughts are. If you subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell, then you will be notified when the second part of this video comes out, which is awesome. So, if you could do that, that would be great too, because then it lets me know I'm doing a good job and that my content has value. Appreciation is fantastic. I put a lot of effort into this content, so it is nice to know that it is appreciated. My name is Eden. I have lots of ideas. I'll see you in the next video to talk about more of them. Ta-ta!